Hey, it's your host Tinto, and I have exciting news to share with you before we get into this weekend's episode. The romantic dramedy fiction podcast called Private Affairs, inspired by true events, is now live. In season 1, Veronica, also known as V, a recent Melbourne transplant from Zimbabwe, unexpectedly finds herself in a situation with a charming Aussie doctor. She quickly has to learn how to keep her wig on when things get sexy, as well as navigate other complexities of an intercultural relationship. This project is sponsored by the Victorian Government of Australia through Creative Victoria and will be available wherever you get your podcasts. For more information, head over to www.privateaffairspod.com. I'm in. You should.
Is that a breakup? I think we have a situation right here.
On the filling station.
Yo, hello.
Hey, what's happening, bro? You good?
I'm nice, fam. I'm good.
Welcome to the Feeling Station.
Yeah, it's good to be here. Long time coming, eh?
Absolutely, man. Do you know, I think both our calendars and diaries were a bit hectic over the last 2 weeks.
No problem, fam. Let's do this.
So before we go too far, I need to let you know that I'm recording an episode for the Feeling Station podcast. So please do your best not to say your name, okay?
Try my best.
Brilliant. On to the intro. So for those who are listening to this podcast for the first time, it touches on breakup stories that people would like to talk about with the view to give you, the listener, lesson or lessons from my guest story. And that brings me to the exciting part. One of the reasons why it's been very successful so far is we do our best to keep our guests anonymous. And that means I get to give you a name. Are you ready for this one, brother?
Yeah, sure.
So your name comes from South Africa, and the name is Zola, which is Z-O-L-A. Zola. Yeah, that's a very easy one to remember. It's literally 4 letters. If you don't remember this one, I don't know what I can do to help you, bro.
Yo, I'm gonna be honest. I knew a Zola one time in my life. Not a pleasant experience, so it's going to be very difficult. It's going to be very difficult for me to forget that one.
Madness. And that name actually means peace and calmness.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, so in the story that you're going to share today, who was the more calm individual, you or your ex?
No cap, I'm not gonna lie. That will have to be me. And I think you'll know as the story goes on, it was definitely me.
Really?
It was all the way 100% me.
Okay. And here's the other fun bit for you, right? You need to give me a name that you want to call the lady you're going to talk about.
Okay, hey. You know, I wish I had more time to think, but I think I'm going to go back to my books.
Okay.
I think we're going to call this one Dolly.
Dolly?
Yeah.
As in Dolly Parton, Dolly.
Okay. Which is short for Dolios. Dolios, I think it's a Greek name.
Okay.
That means I think it's either great deceiver
my God,
or person that brings confusion or something like that.
Wow.
Call it Dolly.
Is this by any chance a reflection of what you're going to tell us later on?
I think you just have to wait and find out.
Oh my God, the suspense, huh? The suspense, bro. Okay, so another reason why this podcast is doing really well is that people learn real life lessons from the stories that are shared. So do you have any lesson or lessons you'd like people to learn?
Yeah, I mean, I think most of the lessons that I'm gonna bring out, I've been an avid listener of your podcast, man.
Yeah.
Since episode 16.
Thanks, bro.
I'm pretty sure most of these lessons have been said, but I'm just gonna give them my own twist.
Okay.
For starters, never ever ignore red flags, man. Don't ever ignore any red flags. There's no such thing as a little red flag or a big red flag.
A red flag is a red flag.
It's definitely
wow.
Don't ignore red flags.
I've never heard the description and warning against ignoring red flags come so strong.
Yo, like if you're going to type this, put it in caps. Never.
Okay, so number 1, never ignore red flags.
The second one is if a person brings baggage into the relationship, it's okay to say, yo, this is too much, and just stop right there.
Really?
You know, it's sometimes it's okay to just say, yo, I don't think I can handle this much baggage that you're bringing. I have baggage, but you're something
Yeah, of
else.
course. Yeah, the next level.
So the second lesson, yeah, definitely, it's okay to just stop. Whether you're in the talking phase or in the
Wow.
beginning of a relationship, like it's cool to just say no. This baggage is too much.
It's too much for me to handle. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Have you got a third lesson?
And yeah, I mean, the third one is just trust your instincts, man.
Mm-hmm.
Just trust your instincts all the time. Otherwise, you go crazy.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
trust your instincts and trust God. Sometimes God just gives you signs.
Yeah.
They're subtle.
Yeah.
And sometimes they're in your face. So
Yeah.
just trust your instincts and trust God.
Oh, nice. I really like those. I'll play those back to make sure I got them right. So the first one is never, with the capital never in there, right? Ignore red flags. Second one, if baggage comes, it's okay to say it's too much and stop at that very same point. And then the last one, trust your instinct and trust God. Are those correct?
Yeah. Very correct.
Nice.
You got those quite
okay,
right.
So tell me about your story with Zola and Dolly.
The thing is, I mean, this story starts out sketchy from the beginning because when we met, I was in a relationship.
Okay.
And I'm not even going to sugarcoat it. This relationship was going south, man. It was, you know, those last kicks of a dying horse, you know?
Yeah.
Whereby it was at that point whereby you would say good morning and the whole day you're not talking, and then you just send a good night in the evening.
Wow.
And that was where it's at. That was where the relationship was.
And so it kind of felt okay-ish to start talking to someone because you knew that this was dying. Is that right?
We were already talking. We were friends. We'd already been friends. I mean, we were in the same circles. We went out to the same places.
Mm-hmm.
We knew each other.
Okay.
But it got to the point whereby this relationship is not going anywhere. So I had more free time to go to those places.
I see.
You know, if my girlfriend's not picking up the phone for us to go out, then I'm gonna hit this spot. And as soon as I hit that spot, she's there. Or the next weekend, I hit another spot and she was there. You know, it's either I'll be the first one to get there, then she would come through, or she would be the first one to get there, then I would pull through.
Nice.
And I think it got to the point whereby I just started asking you, yo, where are you going today? Because I know we're probably going to
bump into each other. Yeah.
Exactly. So this relationship was dying. And I didn't see the problem in getting to know other people while I was letting this relationship die. Because my mama taught me, well, she said, never break up with a girl. So I was waiting for the breakup to come.
Wow. So you were waiting for the breakup to come. And what if she was taught the exact same thing, that never break up with a guy? Then you guys would have been stuck.
You know, I think it got to the point whereby the relationship that I was in started to get, you know, mentally draining.
Yeah.
She would call me up and say, yo, let's meet up at like 11
p.m.
And then I would 11 a.m.
a.m. Yeah, okay.
And then she had a small business that she was running, so she would only be free from 11 onwards.
Okay.
So I would go to said place and wait for hours, man. I mean, I remember this one time I waited from like 11 until 3.
Yo.
And I'll try to call her, she won't be picking up, and I'll just leave.
You're one patient brother, man.
She would like text me at like 8 at night and be like, yo, sorry, something came up. I'm sorry I stood you up. It was a mess. That's when I was like, yo, I'm done.
So pull the plug. So you pulled the plug in the end?
I had to pull the plug, you know. I mean, after talking to my mom.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. I was just gonna say that.
So
you probably
pulling the plug. But what happened was, I got into a relationship with Dolly before I pulled the plug. So Dolly sort of knew what was going on, and she was like, yo, you know, I don't care what's going on with your girlfriend. Yeah. I just want in. And we sort of started dating then. And then I think it was like 2 weeks into the relationship. Yeah. That's when I was like, yo, I can't keep stringing this one along.
Yeah.
While I'm already starting to build something with someone else. So
yeah.
That's when I decided, yo, let's break up.
It's interesting that she was okay to tag along with you whilst you still had someone from the onset.
and I think in hindsight,
Mm-hmm.
that's when I realized that, this was maybe a little red flag.
I
But
think
she was cool. She was like, even if it takes like 6 months for you to break up with your girl, I'm down.
What? 6 months?
Just exactly. Because the thing is, I was spending so much time with her.
Yeah.
It didn't register in her head that I'm in an actual relationship with someone else.
Okay.
So to her, she was like, I'm the main chick. This other one
Okay.
is a side. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So we start dating,
Mm.
and I'm not even gonna lie, man. It was bliss. I mean, you're coming from a relationship where this person is not caring about you. And I mean, candidly speaking,
Mm-hmm.
the relationship that I was in, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
we dated for 3 years, and the last year of our relationship, we weren't even sleeping together. We weren't even having sex.
Damn.
And you go from that to, having, it was the best sex of my life. I won't even lie to you. I mean, it was mind blowing.
Wow.
And this, she was just a free spirit,
Yeah.
she was open about everything.
Yeah.
And just having that kind of, it was the first time that I was dating a person that was mature, both
Mm-hmm.
in mind and, well, I would like to assume in spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an awesome time. And even my friends were saying,
Mm-hmm.
dude, we see the changes. You're happier.
Yeah.
You smile a lot. The places that you used to go, we now even see you even more, and you're always
Wow.
with your girlfriend. It was awesome. It
Now
was
you
it
in a
was a relationship.
you in a really good place, weren't you?
It was, man. And even for her,
Mm-hmm.
like, there are times in a relationship where you can tell that you're being good to that other person.
Yeah. Yeah. This was
Like, you
one of
can
those
tell that,
times.
yeah.
Nice.
So the thing is, when we started dating, I
Mm-hmm.
was unemployed. I had been unemployed for a long while.
A long
I was
while.
fresh out of
How long
yeah,
is a
I
long?
was
How
fresh
long
out
is a
of
long while here?
graduation. I think it was 6 months.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I had left. I left a crazy job, and I was like, no, I can't do this anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that I had other things on offer when I left that job, and
Yeah.
when I did, all of a sudden, people started pulling
Yeah. They
their
start
deals off
flaking.
the table, and
Yeah.
I ended up being unemployed.
Dang.
So she was employed. She had a pretty good job,
Mm-hmm.
and so when we started dating, I was the unemployed one. She was the employed one.
Mm-hmm.
And, she would do, those random little things like send me money out of the blue, like, do this, do that. I was having problems with my car. She would
Mm-hmm.
send me money to fix the car. Those little things like she would just know that, dude is in a bind, and she would
Yeah.
then
Yeah.
just give me money out of the blue. At first,
How did you
it's
feel? How did you feel receiving money from her?
I mean, at first it sort of bruised my ego a little bit, like, I'm not used to this, man.
Yeah.
Like the first time that she offered, I actually said no. And when I went home, I was like, man, but I really needed that money.
Yeah.
I really, really needed it.
So what is it that made you say
So
no in the first place?
I'm not used to being given money by anyone. If it's not my mom,
Mm-hmm.
I would rather not. Even my friends know this. Like, when I was unemployed, my friends ended, like, they would put money into my bank account anonymously because they knew if they asked me direct, I would say
Mm-hmm.
no.
But I'm trying to
So
understand what the problem with that would have been, because here's my approach to situations
yeah,
in general, and this is just me speaking for myself. If I have a genuine need and I know that there's someone who's able to meet that need, I should have a
yeah,
friendship strong enough for me to say, hey, can you help me fill this hole? And they help me fill this
yeah.
hole. So you had a genuine need. Why was it such a problem when your support network is able to fill in that need for you?
It's just something that I wasn't used to. I mean, I remember I was working before,
Mm-hmm.
and I was the provider. When my friends were in a bind,
Mm-hmm.
I would help them easily. It was something that I wasn't. It was the first time in my life
Mm-hmm.
that I was broke. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I was dead broke.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
even when I was on social media, and people would be talking about broke guys, it
Yeah.
would hurt because I knew, that's me.
Yeah, yeah, you knew exactly
You
what
know,
was going on. Okay, interesting.
yeah.
Nice.
And in my case
Mm-hmm.
was I had used up all of my savings. I had a had a good job before, enough that allowed me to save money.
Yeah.
So I had even used up all of my savings. It was to that extent.
Yeah, that was deep.
Yeah. So it got to the point whereby when she started offering me money, I now got used to that. It was like accepting money from my mom. I was now used to it.
Okay.
I don't remember at any point me asking for money, but she would just notice, and that's how close we were. She would notice that something's wrong, you know.
Yeah.
So the first red flag popped up when I was still broke. So we were driving from work, and then she mentions that a car passes by, like, your car passes by, and she's like, yo, I'm supposed to get that car. And this was the first time that she was mentioning getting a car at any point in the relationship. We were like 3 months in. And I'm like, are you saving money or anything? And the guilt starts coming in. Am I using your car money? What's going on?
Wow. Yeah.
And then she's like, no, an ex is supposed to give me a car. And she said it so casually, like, he's just supposed to give me a car. And I'm like, why? And she's like, oh, it was a bad breakup, and he felt bad. He got with someone else, ended up getting her pregnant, ended up marrying her, and he just felt bad, so he decided, let me give you a car.
For what? As what? As a way of saying sorry for making you feel the pain you did?
Those are the exact same questions I was asking. And I was confused at the time, but then I couldn't even. The thing is, my mindset was, I'm broke. Yeah. I can't provide a car for you right now.
So I shouldn't be asking too many questions.
I shouldn't be asking questions. I shouldn't be blocking your blessings. That was my mindset at the time.
Wow.
So in hindsight, that had to be a flag. So it got to the point whereby this ex was saying, the car is with my aunt and I owe my aunt this amount of money. So if you just fork out that money and give it to my aunt, you'll get the car.
Oh my gosh. Okay, what did she do? Did she fork out the money?
And then I don't know. At this point, I don't know. Right now, I know that she did fork out the money, but at that point, I didn't know if she did. She just told me I'm supposed to be, I think it was 500, it's equivalent to 500 USD.
Damn.
And that's a lot of money.
You see, Zola, my mind is racing here.
Yeah.
Because
back then, it was like, I can't block your blessings. So
yeah, no, my mind is racing because for me, my first question would be, you talk to your ex? Right? And for me, I'm assuming you guys were the kind of couple that doesn't bother having the ex discussion when you get together. So whatever happened in the past belongs in the past. You don't need to know. That's what it feels like.
Exactly.
So it feels like you guys didn't talk about it, but now it's starting to raise its head. And now this is a perfect time to ask the question. You still talk to your ex? Did you ask her that question?
I think in hindsight, my mind was like, she allowed me to finish my relationship while being exclusive to me. So I should be asking about the ex. This guy is offering her a whole car. So why should I, block those blessings?
Because you're the main man. That's all the reason why you should.
At that very moment, the thoughts did cross my mind, but I quickly brushed it off. That's why I was saying, red flag. Never, capital never.
Yeah.
Because that was very much a red flag.
Damn. Okay. All right.
Yeah. So this issue blows over, and I think it was like 7 months into us dating. I give or take. We went out with a friend, and when we started driving home, she was quiet.
Okay.
And I'm like, yo, what's up? And then she's like, why haven't you introduced me to your mom? So when we were still friends, when I was telling her about my breakup, I had mentioned that my ex had met my mom.
Okay.
But this is 3 years into us dating. She had to meet my mom.
Yeah.
And my mom, she's an open person. I don't have secrets with my mom. So she was like, why haven't I met your mom when your ex knew your mom? And at first I thought she was joking. I actually laughed it off and I was like, oh, you're joking. You're crazy. And I mean, I'm driving and I could see that this is really getting to her. And she's like, am I embarrassing to you? Like, am I not worthy to meet your mom? Like, what's going on? That's when I knew, yo, this conversation is serious.
It's serious, yeah.
And then I told her, like, yo, I'm like, in as much as my mom is not a traditional person, I feel like I shouldn't just be introducing every girl I date to my mom. At least let it be serious.
So does that mean it wasn't serious?
At that point, it was 7 months into us dating or having fun, but the whole marriage question wasn't up because I'm still getting to know this person. I'm still, we're still getting to know each other. I'm broke. I shouldn't even be talking about marriage. So that for me was sort of like, yeah, I'm confused. Like, why is this even an issue? You will meet my mom.
I think it's
at some point.
I think it's a very relevant question because there are some people who meet someone and within 3 months they propose and 6 months down the line they're married. So it feels to me like you would rather have a certain mark being hit before you decide that something is serious. Because you're coming from a 3-year relationship, right?
Yeah, true.
At what point, at what year did you introduce that ex to your mom? 2 years in?
I think it was the final year of our relationship.
So 3 years in.
I had to introduce her because she had an emergency and I had to drive her a very long distance, like across the country. So I wasn't gonna drive across the country with my mom not knowing where I am. I had to. It was sort of like a need.
So in your mind, what were you seeing as the amount of years you required for you to introduce Dolly?
For me, I wanted us to be dating for a whole year because at this point, I didn't want it to feel like a rebound, because I'm coming from a long-term relationship. I wanted to make sure that number one, this is not a rebound. I wanted to make sure that number two, the whole phase that we're going through is not just the honeymoon phase,
How long does a honeymoon phase last?
I've had very long honeymoon phases. I've had honeymoon phases that have been so long that as soon as the honeymoon phase ended, would like break up in a week. I've had crazy long honeymoon phases.
Okay.
I'm not even gonna lie. And at first I thought it was me.
Yeah.
But then I'm starting to realize that maybe it's these are the guys that I'm dating because I've had very long honeymoon phases, man. And it's bliss.
Yeah,
it's bliss,
yeah. Okay, so she asked the question, when are you introducing me to your mom? And then you saw, oh, this conversation is serious. And then what did you say?
The thing that raised the red flag for me was it wasn't a conversation, more like her making me feel bad for not introducing her to my mom. So I'm confused now. Like, yo, if we're gonna have this conversation, can it be a conversation? But then it's turned from being a conversation to her accusing me of not respecting her enough, of not being proud of her, am I not worthy? It was that whole vibe. Am I not worthy? What do you see in me? And that's where the conversation strayed.
Those are very important questions though.
They are, but
they are, and
the way that she was presenting them, it was, let's have a conversation about this. Don't accuse me of doing something that I don't even know that I'm doing.
Well, she did ask the question. She did ask the question so that you'd have a conversation. She's like, "Why haven't you introduced me to your mom?" And you laughed.
I thought it was a joke because this is 7 months in. I honestly thought she was joking. And then I turned to her and I see this girl is serious.
Yeah, so she wanted a conversation. So she genuinely wanted a conversation. So where did it go south?
Yeah.
It probably went south because she felt you weren't taking it seriously.
In hindsight, I think that's where her mind took her.
Yeah.
Because I noticed that every time we had fights, it would start off as a genuine question, either by me or by her. And as soon as someone takes offense, it's a fight.
Okay.
Even if it's a little bit even if it's a tiny bit, then we would fight either on my side or on her side. If I take offense, it's a fight.
Yeah.
If she takes offense, it's a fight. So most of our serious conversations
ended up in fights. Yeah.
it got to a point whereby she came to me and said, yo, this can't be the way that we fight. So
Yeah.
every time you have an issue with me, let's sit down and talk about it. And every time I have an issue with you, we're going to sit down and talk about it. So that when we do need to have these serious conversations, they don't turn into a fight.
So how did you
And I
resolve
was
this
like,
one about your mom?
so the way that the conversation ended was like, when it's time, I'm going to introduce you, but I promise you it's going to be soon. That was it.
You see, now if I was a girl, I wouldn't be satisfied with that answer.
She clearly was, because that was end of conversation, finishing clap, it was done.
Or maybe that was her just saying in her head, okay, whatever.
I think that's the vibe I got. Like, she just agreed because she was tired of fighting. And I also said whenever, because I was also tired of fighting. It was, I think it had to be our first fight.
Yeah.
It had to be too. So the second red flag for me, or was it the third red flag? The third red flag for me was, I realized at some point during the relationship that she wasn't really a nice person.
What triggered that?
Like, she was mean, like, she would post things, be it on her Instagram or Twitter or whatever. And I mean, I know her friends, I know her enemy.
Yeah.
At this point, I know the people that she doesn't get along with. So I can tell that, yo, this is a straight dig to this person.
Yeah.
And then I would like ask her, yo, but why would you post this when you clearly know that the person that you're hitting is literally going to see this?
Mm-hmm.
Like, she wouldn't block the person or make the effort of hiding. She would, like, if I can see that you're throwing a dig at this person, then everyone can see it.
Yeah.
Because I'm slow. I'm very slow.
Yeah,
I mean, it takes a while for me to get things. So if I got it,
yeah,
obviously the other person got it. So I'm like, yo, why are you doing this? Like, and she would be like, she had those vindictive answers whereby they do the same things to me, or when we had a fight 10 or so odd years ago, she didn't care about my feelings then. So why should I care about her
hers
feelings
now?
now?
Yeah.
It got to that
point. So very vindictive, tit for tat type of person.
Yeah, like very much tit for tat.
Yeah.
Like, even if we went out and, my guys would bring their girlfriends, and she decided she didn't want to get along with this particular girlfriend, and she would just turn evil.
Yeah.
Like, there and then.
Yeah.
Throwing digs, making fun of the person. She would whisper in my ear, like, yo, look at her nose, stuff like that. Like, in the moment I'll be high, but and then I'll reflect and I'll be like, did she just say that to me?
Yeah, and that wasn't right. No, that wasn't right.
Yo, that wasn't right at all. And then, so this one day, I'm driving home. We were driving from Groove. Yeah, we went out, had a couple of drinks. We're driving home, and then my car had a fault.
Yeah.
Like, those sort of like, you're putting the car on the side of the road kind of faults.
Yeah.
So I pull up, I pull over actually, and I check, and I'm like, yo, I think it was my radiator. Something was up with my radiator, and my car, like, she wasn't moving. She wasn't going anyway.
Yeah.
So I call a text, and I'm like, yo, if there's any point that I need to go from here, it'll be home. So you take a taxi back to your place. And I'm going to call a mechanic, see if they can fix the car, head straight home. So I call my mechanic, comes, fixes the car. We get home, try to see what caused the problem, and we finished late. And during this whole time, I didn't charge my phone. Yeah. And then my phone switches off. And, I'm tired. We slept late, fixing the car. I was helping this guy out. It was late at night. I mistakenly leave the phone in the car and just head up to the house, clean up and sleep. So I wake up in the morning, I can't find my phone. And then I realize, no, I left it in the car. So I rush down, quickly charge the phone. I switch on the phone, and there are like messages from Dolly. And they're like,
how many are we
oh,
talking about here? How many messages are we talking about?
we're talking about, I think 30 something messages.
Oh,
And she
wow.
knew,
Were
like, the
there,
whole time we're
but were there
fixing
any
the
missed
car, I
calls
was
there?
talking to him.
But were there any missed calls there as well?
They were missed calls, but they were like app calls because she can't get through to my actual
proper number,
my actual line. So she knew that I was fixing the car. I was helping my mechanic fix the car because it was late. I was holding the light up for him and stuff. So I suspected that she knew that at any point the phone was going to switch off because it wasn't charged.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, why is this girl sending so many messages? So I'm panicking now, and I call her.
Yeah.
As soon as I call her, you know that angry voice, you know, that you don't want to hear from your significant other. Like, she quickly said, why are you not picking up your phone? Come here right now. And it was the first time that she said that to me. Most times she'd be like, babe, can you please come over? You know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But this time it was like, come here right now. And then she hangs up. And then she calls after 2 seconds. I said, come here right now.
What?
And at this point, I'm panicking. This car has just been fixed. I don't know if I will get there.
Yeah.
But, you know, let me just go. So I get into the car. I get to a place. And she stayed in the 3rd floor. So I'm climbing up the steps.
Yeah.
And, dude, I see blood on the steps.
Oh.
And the trail leads straight up to her door.
No.
And at this point, my heart is beating like, what the hell? And I knock on the door. She opens the door.
Yeah.
And the left side of her arm has got like droplets of blood, like, but they're dried. And I'm like, did you hurt yourself? What's going on?
Yeah.
And she looks at me and she starts bawling her eyes out. She starts crying, man. What's going on? Did you hurt yourself? And she tells me, these were the first words that came out of her mouth. She said, come sit down. I'm going to tell you something. And I will not blame you if you decide to break up with me after I tell you.
Oh my gosh.
So she sits me down and I'm like, yo, before you tell me, are you hurt? And then she's like, I don't even know if this is my blood.
Yo, that's
I'm
mad.
like, what the hell happened? So at that point, when I'm like asking her, her roommate opens her door and throws her phone, closes the door and walks out. Like, when the roommate opened the door, I greeted her like, yo, what's up? And she didn't even respond to me. She just closed the door and left. So I look at her and I'm like, yo, what's going on? And she said, no, I have an ex that came over and we ended up fighting.
What the hell?
And in the process of fighting, her words were, I think I cut him and this might be his blood. So I'm like, yo, first of all, why would you fight with your ex? And she said he came over and started attacking me. He was an abusive boyfriend. So he came over, started attacking me. He has been here before, but the only reason why he didn't come up was because you were there and he saw your car outside. So this time he didn't see your car, so he decided to come up. And that's why we ended up fighting. And in an effort to make him leave, I cut him. And then I'm like, yo, so that's his blood that's, all over the stairs and stuff? She says, I think so. And like, she's scared, like she's shivering at this point.
Whoa.
I'm like, yo, this is crazy, man. And at that point, I was overwhelmed. I was like, I need to go home. So I just stood up and I left, fam.
Oh man, what was? Jeez, man, that was a lot to take in. What was going through your mind at that time?
First of all, I was like, why would he come to your place in the first place? Like, do you have unfinished business? I mean, that was the conversation we had like a day later.
Is this the same guy who was meant to be getting a car?
It was a different guy.
Oh, wow.
It was a different guy. So as soon as I get home, that's when the roommate calls me. And the roommate tells me that the thing that happened was the ex had actually dropped the roommate off. And I'm like, first of all, tell me which ex is this?
Yeah.
And then the roommate tells me, go ask your girlfriend. I can't tell you that. But
Yeah.
the reason why they ended up fighting was because the ex came and dropped me off at their place and she saw that.
What the
So
hell?
I go back to her place and we're having a conversation. That's when she tells me that this ex is actually a workmate and an ex-workmate, actually. They used to work together and they
Yeah.
had, that office romance, that
Yeah,
office
yeah,
fling.
yeah.
So after that fling ended, the ex moved on to the roommate.
Oh, this guy is moving mad. This guy.
So
Oh,
so
wow.
she felt slighted that how can, she considered the roommate to be a friend. So
Friend,
how can she
yeah.
go to her ex, you know? And that's why the fight happened. So
That's very telling of your relationship with Dolly.
yeah, because
Because yeah,
why would you be slighted by that if you're happy with me? That was the question.
yeah, it shouldn't be an issue if your ex decided to be with someone else and it doesn't matter who it is. So I know people
Exactly.
listening to this might think otherwise, that okay, your ex can't really move to people who are within your circle, but hey, they're an ex. Okay.
Yeah,
And I think this is starting to make sense based on your lesson number 2, which says if baggage comes, it's okay to say this is too much
yeah,
for me to handle. Stop right there and leave. Because for me, this sounds like a good opportunity for you to actually stop and say, whoa, 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 do you know what? I've had X
yeah,
business before, first time round with the car issue, and now they're
yeah.
coming into this scenario, and it's proving to be very dangerous because there's blood all over here. This is too much
True,
for me to handle. I'm out of here. But I got a
true.
question for you.
Yeah,
Did you stay?
I stayed, man. I
Why?
stayed.
Why?
I mean, she was a wreck at that point, she was a wreck, man. And she was trying to get get wind of the situation and all that. She was afraid to lose me at the same point. Um and I was like, I can't leave her like this. She was a wreck. She looked remorseful, and but the thing that makes me feel that I was too forgiving was after we had that conversation,
Yeah.
I immediately said, you know what? It's okay. If you're over it, it's fine. So I didn't even give myself time to think about it.
Why is that though?
I've love, man. I mean, it was love. I really, really loved this girl.
And how far into the
So I was
relationship
like,
was
I
this?
can't lose you
Yeah.
over stuff that happened with other people. This is not my fault. It's sort of your fault, but you're remorseful. So, I mean, I'm just going to let this one slide.
How
So
how
that's
long
when
how long had you guys been dating for at this point?
it was still 7 months. It was right after the mom conversation.
So at this point, you now realize you really love this woman,
Yeah.
which means you're in a position now to introduce her to your mom.
And I was seriously considering it too.
Did you do it?
I ended up doing that, but that's another part of the story.
Okay, go on, go on.
So, you know, um, so the moment that happened, that's when I drew the line. That's when I was like, yo, if you still have any ex issues, you need to check them out now if you
Yeah,
want us to work.
yeah,
That's when I stood my ground and I was like, I can't keep, overlooking this. You know what? If you still have ex issues, tell me now
yeah,
and I can leave. And she assured me, like tears in her eyes. She said, nope, I'm
yeah.
done with my ex.
But was it believable when she said that?
It was, tears in your eyes, she's shaking, she's clinging to you, that whole thing. And you can feel the intensity of the moment, like
Mm.
it's serious. But what I realized now was the intensity was due to her being remorseful and not her being sincere about what she was saying. She was
Right.
saying, she was saying, yes, I'll do it, but I don't think she meant it. She was just saying it for the sake of saving the relationship.
Right. Okay.
So immediately after that, went back to the honeymoon phase.
Immediately.
Like immediately after that, we're back at the honeymoon phase. We're back at being, we're the it couple now. People start comparing their relationships to us again, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I never told any of my friends about this.
Okay.
Any one of them, never told them. So to them, it was just, these guys have had a great relationship for the last 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 months, but they didn't realize that at month number 7, we had a small bump. Okay, it was a big bump. We had a bump, but then it wasn't apparent because from then on we just continued, So at this moment, a dude is falling in love, and I start actually working hard to get another job. And I think it was a couple of months after that, I get a call and I get a job in another city. That's
Nice.
like 3.5 hours away.
Whoa.
And it wasn't like those, come for an interview, apply, that kind of thing. It was like straight up, you know what? We just want to talk to you, see if you're ready for this job. And when I went there, they were like, yo, we like you. If you want to sign, you can sign and then you can start. So, but it was in another city.
Was that a problem?
For me, it wasn't, because I've been in long distance relationships before. But the thing is, we never had that conversation that what happens if I get a job in another town, or what happens if I get a job in another country? We never had those conversations. So we had that conversation when I got the job offer, and she was like, "Yo, you're almost on the brink of depression because of your unemployment.
Yeah.
I think you should just go."
Yeah.
She was an anchor for me at the time. She helped me with the whole process of moving and stuff like that. Like, she knew the place, so she hooked me up with the place to stay and all that. She did everything. Yeah, she literally did everything. I mean, my mom helped with the rent money and stuff, but she literally was my anchor at that point.
Yeah.
Because we'd never had relatives in that city before. Never. So even to say I'm moving to this place, I don't know where I'm going. So she knew people and they hooked me up, got a nice place to stay, started my job well.
But why do I get the feeling this long distance had an impact on your relationship?
It ended up having an impact. That's when we go to the next red flag.
What happened?
So I'm working during the week, and on Thursday, I just decided, you know what? I've been working and I just need a day off.
Yeah.
So I call my bosses and I'm like, can I get Friday off?
Yeah.
And they're like, you know what? You've been doing a good job all week. Just take today and tomorrow.
Oh, nice.
So as soon as they said take today and tomorrow,
you were off.
I was like, I'm off. I didn't even think twice. I was like, these guys could change their mind anytime.
I'm not taking no chances.
No chances at all. So I drive back home. But this whole time I'm driving, I can't be on the phone texting her. And at the same time, back to the phone business, my phone switches off. So I'm driving back home.
Yeah.
And I decide, no, I'm not going to go home. I'm going to go to her place.
To surprise her. Hey, babe, I'm here. Surprise.
Yeah, I actually wanted to call, but then...
You couldn't.
The phone was off.
Yeah, you couldn't.
And that's when I was like, first thing tomorrow morning, I'm buying a car charger.
Yeah.
I was like, first thing tomorrow morning, I'm going to buy a car charger.
Yeah.
Because right now I could have been charging my phone while driving. So I get home. I get to her place, knock on the door. She opens the door. She's clearly surprised.
Yeah.
But she's happy.
Oh, nice.
She's like, but why didn't you call? I'm like, this is the phone. It's literally off. I could have called you, but the phone is off. Actually, can you put the phone on the charger for me? So get to a place, puts the phone on the charger. We have a wonderful night, if you know what I mean. And,
I think I have an
you
idea
know,
because you've already described it as the best thing that's ever happened to you.
yeah. So we and while like we're in the middle of having sex, her phone rings
Mm-mm.
and she ignores it.
Mm-hmm.
And at the state that I'm in, I'm like, don't you dare answer that phone. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. Don't you even look at it.
Yeah.
So after we're done, the phone rings again
Mm-hmm.
and she picks it up.
Okay.
And when she picks the phone up to answer, the name flashes, who's calling. And this is the ex that I know. These other two exes, no idea about them. But this one that's calling, this is the ex that I know about. Like, I have all the details. I know about this.
And it was definitely the name that flashed up.
It was definitely him because it was his name and his picture too.
Okay.
So she answers the phone, and that's when her phone snitched on her because her phone is loud.
Oh.
So she answers the phone, and the dude is like, "Where you at? Are you home?" And she says, "Yeah." And the dude is like, "Okay, I'll be there in 10 minutes." And she's like, "No, don't come." And the dude is like, "Screw that, I'm coming." She's like, "No, I said don't come." And he's like, "Why?" And she's like, "I'm with my boyfriend." And as soon as she says, "I'm with my boyfriend," there were two guys in the background I could hear laughing. And then he's like, "Oh, okay." And he hangs up.
Damn.
So to me, I was like, first of all, why would he be calling to come to your place?
Yeah.
But then again, I'll be like, okay, fine. Then why would he be coming with people? And, but she did say she's with her boyfriend, so shouldn't be a big deal. But anyway, I'm still going to ask.
Yeah.
So I asked her, why is he calling you? And she's like, the truth is he's been nagging me for a while. And he's been wanting to come and see me. And this is the first time that he's actually made an effort to come and see me.
Yeah, whatever.
And I'm like, but why would he, I mean,
he sounded very confident on the phone. He sounded very confident to say, "Are you home? I'm coming through."
He was.
This is not someone who's. This is not someone who's trying to test the waters.
Yeah, it's not that he was confident. He was cool. He was like, "Yo, I'm coming over." That kind of thing. That
wow.
I'm not asking. I'm telling you that I'm coming. So in hindsight, that's when I started. In the moment, you don't think about these things. You try to think about, you try to say, my person wouldn't do this. So, I mean, I kick myself every time I think about that situation because I should have thrown a fit on the day, but I didn't. I was like, oh, okay, cool. So what are you going to do about it? And then she blocks his number while I'm there. Like she literally says, "You know what? I'm blocking him. I'm deleting him," and she blocks him and everything from like while I'm there. And I'm like, okay, that's good enough for me.
I'm just thinking your name is really befitting of this episode, Zola, because it means peace, calm, and tranquil. I mean, you have had 3 situations that you should have blown your top off, but you are remaining peaceful, cool, calm, and collected. I don't know how you did it.
Any other person.
Yeah, any other person would have gone ballistic.
I should have, man. I really should have. But I think it goes back to the person that I am. That if I feel that the reaction is late, then I shouldn't react at all. Because I think about 4 or 5 hours later, that's when my mind started telling me things,
Yeah.
And then I was like, I should confront her about this. But it's 5 hours, so I mean,
it might be a good thing. It might be a good thing that you're not really impulsive with your emotions like that, because this is how some people end up, doing things that they regret. Because they react in the moment when emotions are really high and they have adrenaline and they're angry and anything can happen. But for you, it's the other
Exactly.
way around. So I think for you, it's actually a blessing in a way because you do not act on impulse. You give yourself time to
True,
digest. And
true.
by the time you want to react the way you're supposed to, it's been so long. Your response is more calculated and more rational.
Exactly.
You know,
But then I
so,
feel that if it's delayed, then might as well. I mean,
yeah.
we fixed it. We blocked him. I mean, that's
Damn.
it.
Okay, so she blocked him, and then what happened next?
So so this part of the story will be of significance later on. So I'm at work and she calls me. She calls me up and she says, "Do you have money in your bank account?" I'm like, "Of course."
Hmm.
This is, "I need you to send money to this account." The guy is in a bind. He's a
who's
friend.
who's the guy? Is going to be my next question,
So
given this girl's track record.
she just said he's a friend, he's in a bind, and I don't have money to send him. He's like in serious trouble.
Okay,
Can you
so
send money?
I'm
And
gonna stop you
it
right
wasn't
there.
even
I'm gonna stop
yeah,
you right there. Did you ask who is this guy?
I did. I
Okay.
did. And she just said, "It's a friend. You know
Hmm.
him,
Oh, oh,
you know?" And
okay.
I'm like, "Okay, fine. Which one is it?" And then she
Mm-hmm.
describes one of her friends, and I'm like, "Okay, cool. I know him. I know
Okay.
him for real."
Okay.
I
Okay.
just that his name didn't ring in my head.
Mm.
I'm very bad with names, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, and the money wasn't even a lot. I think it was just something like 20-25 bucks, I think.
Okay. Okay.
Equivalent to USD, it was 20-25 bucks. And I'm
Mm.
like, it's not even a lot of money. So, and she said, "I will pay you back. Not he will pay you back, but I
Yeah.
will pay you back."
Mm.
And so I send the money through.
Mm-hmm.
So as I am saying out the account number to the teller, she calls his name and she says, "This account belongs to so and so." And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, "Okay, cool, send it through." And then she calls me like 15 minutes later. She says, "Yo, the money came through. Thanks a lot. I'll
Mm-hmm.
make sure I'll pay you back." And
Mm-hmm.
she did actually.
Mm-hmm.
She did pay me back not too long after.
Mm-hmm.
And but this name, for some reason, that's when I think God's got my back. Because this name, for some reason, did not leave my mind at all.
Yeah. Yeah. For the first time,
From
I mean,
that day,
you did say you're bad with names, but this one
I'm
stuck.
very bad.
And
This one
so
stuck. And I'm
God
like,
pulled through for you on this.
so every time we're meeting with her friends, I'm expecting her to introduce this guy.
Mm.
But the names that she's introducing are not the money that I sent to.
Mm-hmm.
So the name ended up being like, engraved in my brain.
Mm-hmm.
And I never really figured out at that point, why is that so?
Yeah.
So this name stuck in my head. And then it got to the point where I actually decided to introduce her to my mom. And we'd been dating a while. I think it was almost over a year now.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was like, "You know what? Let me introduce you to my mom." And my mom, being my mom, she makes a whole event out of it.
Wow.
She calls her friends. She calls, my favorite aunts. My brother had to drive all the way from the city that he was working in.
Wow.
She made it a thing.
Wow.
And so this happened. Oh no, I left a very important detail. Like
Mm.
when her birthday came up, I
Mm-hmm.
decided to show out.
Mm-hmm.
And I bought her a phone. But
Nice.
because the phone that she wanted, I couldn't afford it. I ended up buying, those slightly used,
Oh yeah,
those,
yeah.
those slightly used phones.
Mm-hmm.
So it turned out that this phone was an Android device. It was
Mm.
rooted.
Mm. It
So
was
the
rooted?
owner didn't want a rooted Android
But
device.
what you mean it's rooted?
Like when they remove the system and they put another one. So now
Oh.
you have access to all these developer files and stuff like that.
Oh, right. Okay,
It's
okay, yeah,
it's
yeah.
IT talk, yeah.
Okay, okay.
So it was new because the owner didn't want a rooted device. So I got it for a mad discount.
Mm-hmm.
So I got her a phone, I got her clothes, got her flowers, took her out. You
Mm.
know,
Mm.
when you show out for your girl and you feel to yourself like, "Yo,
Yeah, you
I
really
I'm
went
doing
out.
this,"
Yeah.
you know. So that's gonna help you understand when we start talking about the breakup. So she finally meets my mom, and she's got this brand new phone, big screen,
Hmm.
and I'm walking behind the table,
Mm-hmm.
and you know, I don't know. The thing with me is I'm a nosy person. Everyone knows that I'm nosy. I'm
Okay.
a very nosy person. If I
Right.
get into your car, the first thing that I'm gonna do
Just look
is
around.
open all the drawers, open everything, pull down the visor, push any buttons, see what it. That's me. That
Oh,
so I'm
okay.
naturally a nosy person.
Right.
So I'm walking behind her. And her phone is in my line of view,
Mm.
and I see her, and she's texting the ex.
The same one who called and was like, "What are you doing? I'm coming."
Exactly, that
Lord of
same one.
mercy. Okay.
So I mean, this is the heat of the moment. My mom is happy, her friends are happy, and all that. But from that day on,
Hmm.
my day was ruined. Like
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
was, it turned to from blissful to, and this is on the day that you're meeting my mom, the mother that you wanted me to
Yeah,
introduce you to,
yeah, and the one that you
and
kicked
you
up a
do me like
stink about
this.
earlier. Yeah,
So you know what? I brushed it off. I did whatever, finished the day. I'm driving
yeah,
her back home,
yeah.
and my mind tells me, "Yo, ask about the text." And then the other part of me is like, "But she's gonna ask how you know,
It
and you don't
shouldn't.
want to sound like the paranoid boyfriend."
Yeah, but it shouldn't
You
matter
know,
because you know what you saw. You saw what you saw. You've got something to back you up. This is not.
you know
This is not a
that's
rumor. This is
exactly
not a
it.
suspicion. You've got some real hard facts.
Yeah, I mean, again,
So please tell me you
my
asked that
mind
question.
did not did not ask.
Zola.
We got home. Thank you for the day. Yada yada yada. We drive back. A week later, we go out, and this time a friend was driving us. So
Hmm.
we were seated at the back, and this ex calls again.
Aibo. Ay, ay, ay.
But then when he calls, his number is not reflecting. His name is not reflecting. It's just a number. And she answers the phone. But
Hmm.
with this new phone,
Hmm.
um, I can't tell who's talking on the other side.
Oh, because it's not as loud
This
as the previous one.
is not as loud as the previous one.
Yeah.
And as soon as she hangs up, she just straight up tells me that was that ex.
Hmm.
And she owns up. She says he's been changing his numbers. He's still been calling me. And, there's nothing I can do. If a guy changes his number and calls me, I mean, I'll assume it's a work call. So if it's him, I'll just, you know, 5 minutes, 5 seconds, and then hang up. And I'm like, as soon as you find out it's him, you should just hang up. You shouldn't even be
Yeah. It should be
entertaining.
entertaining a conversation.
And that became another fight. That's when she started calling me insecure. And I'm like, but
Hmm.
you can't say I'm insecure when you're doing things that make me ask questions.
Yeah.
And at that point, I know I should have asked, but you were texting him last week. But then I didn't. So in hindsight, that might have not been a good move.
Hmm.
And again, I'm clouded by this whole we're happily in love situation. I just introduced you to my mom. I'm saving up money to buy an engagement ring at this point.
What?
I kid you not.
Well, why are you thinking about an engagement ring when you've got exes lurking in the background?
The thing is, she would have this thing of pacifying me, or I would have this thing of pacifying myself
Why were you so
whenever these
why
things
were
would
you so
pop up.
hung up on this woman?
I've got no idea, fam. I mean, yo,
How much of a part
and
did the good sex have to play in all of this?
it wasn't just the sex too. It was the whole relationship. The sex was great, I'll admit, but even the relationship was smooth sailing. I mean, have you ever had a relationship where even
Nah, nah, nah,
your
nah, nah.
skin begins to glow?
Yeah, no.
Like, you know,
You know that's dope. But to me, this is not smooth sailing when you got exes popping up left, right, and center, bro. That is all the
yeah.
reason why it's a very bumpy relationship. So
In
what was
hindsight, it
it? What
was.
was it really?
So man, it was exactly that. I mean, the thing is, we would always have these things like months apart. So this X would pop up, and then months would go, and then the next X would pop up, and then months would
Hmm.
go, and then this new one
And
would
for me,
pop up.
this is all the
And
reason
then,
why I'd be running away because there's too many of them man them popping up left, right, and center. But you're thinking about
exactly.
an engagement
And
ring. Okay, were you hoping that the engagement ring will get rid of these exes
I was hoping I would get rid of those X's.
by putting the engagement ring on there?
No, by loving her, correct? Because from what she was telling me, all these guys were dead.
But you're not loving her incorrectly, though.
Yeah, that's true. And that's why, in hindsight, I don't feel remorseful about what happened later because I did everything right. I mean, I gave her a lot of leg room.
Okay,
It was a lot.
so now I want to know that one thing that happened later because already for me, she's got too many red flags with these exes to be getting
Yeah.
the attention that you're giving her. So what then got to that point when you were like, nah, this is it? Because I can't imagine it getting worse than this, really.
What actually killed us now was she would play on my insecurities. And at some point, I started really being insecure,
Yeah.
like very, very insecure. And that's when, I broke the number one rule in relationships: don't pick up the phone, don't go through your girlfriend's phone. I broke those rules
Oh,
countless times,
shit. Yeah, okay.
countless times. But every time I would do that, I would not get, things that would feed my insecurities. I would get things that would assure me that nothing's going on, you know? So it wasn't that I was going through a phone, like sitting down, flipping through stuff. It's like every time a message would pop up and she would ask me to handle the phone, I would not hesitate to look at what's on the phone. If it's someone that's calling, I would not hesitate to look at who's calling. If it's a conversation she's having on the phone while we're driving, I would not hesitate to eavesdrop. And so this one time, she gets a text and she asks me to hand her the phone. And I hand her the phone, and the name has got one of her girlfriends. The one of her girlfriend's names is saved on the phone, but
Okay.
there's no picture.
Okay.
And then I look at the message, and the message did not sound like her at all.
It didn't add up. Yeah.
Like, I know this friend.
Yeah.
Like, she is a snob to the
To the
10th
max.
degree.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she would never say this. So the text, loosely translated, was like, "Hey, mommy, are you asleep? Or the boss is back?"
Yay. Wow.
So I handed the phone.
Yeah.
And 2 days later, the same number sends a text, same kind of text, but there's a kid now on the
Picture.
on the picture. So I ask her, and I'm like, "Yo, whose kid is that?" And she says, it's one of her cousins." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." So this other day we're driving. No, she was the one that was driving. And this call comes up, and it's the friend again. And I don't know if you can get this, but it was the weird number with the weird name with the weird texts.
Yeah.
And this time the number code for, I think she was like, "No, don't answer it, let it ring." And so what I ended up doing was I put the number in my phone. I just pretended as if I was texting.
Oh yeah, of course, because you could see the number. Yeah.
Yeah. So I put the number in my phone. And when the call stopped, I just put the phone down. So it was subtle. She's driving. She didn't even notice a thing.
Yeah.
So when we're home now, I try to send money to that number. And guess which name pops up? the
DX.
name of that friend that she wanted to send money to. You remember the account name?
Yes, 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 yes.
And this name was engraved in my brain. So
So
that's
when
the
you
name that
saw,
pops up.
okay. Hmm.
And I immediately go stalker mode 100%. Like girls don't have anything on me when it comes to stalking. I promise you. I mean,
Wow.
I go to his Facebook, his Instagram,
Yeah.
and I actually noticed that I have never seen this guy before.
Hmm.
Like, it's not a friend that I've seen. If she says it's a friend,
It's someone outside of your circles.
it's way outside of our
Yeah.
circle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I went to one of our mutual friends that I suspected would know this guy. And I was like, yo,
Mm-hmm.
do you know this person? And the person just casually answers, like, oh no, that's Dolly Sex, a
Ah,
third one. And I'm like, for real? And they're like,
Jesus.
yeah, yeah. Oh, they
Hi,
dated
boy.
in
Ay, ay,
college.
ay,
What,
ay,
what,
ay,
what,
ay.
what? They dated for a while. And
Oh,
this person is
wow.
like telling me all this, and they don't know that they are driving a stake through my heart. You know,
Ah.
and they're like, "Yo, don't worry, he's off to some other country. And
Damn.
that's when my mind went dark.
Yeah.
That conversation, my mind went dark
Mm-hmm.
because it was like a face-to-face conversation. We didn't have this conversation over the phone. It
Mm-hmm.
was something that I just said, no, let me ask her.
Mm-hmm.
So with me, when my mind goes dark, my go-to drink is gin.
Hmm.
But then the gin has got two effects on me.
Hmm.
It's either it clears up my mind or it makes me paranoid as hell.
Which one did it
Whenever
make you?
I drink gin, I get paranoid. It's either my mind is cleared up or I get paranoid. So in this case, the paranoia kicked in.
Hmm.
So I knew that if I get home to this girl and I give her mind blowing sex, she's going to pass out.
And then you get to go through her phone.
I get to her place,
Hmm.
mind blowing sex, she passes out.
Hmm.
Like completely.
Hmm.
I mean, she was snoring.
Hmm.
She wasn't even flinching.
Hmm.
That's when I take her phone. And when I went to that number, the funny number,
Yeah.
there are no WhatsApp texts or anything. There's nothing. It's just blank.
Damn. She's good.
Like there's nothing.
She's good. She's good.
So I suspected that when I asked her about the kid on the picture, that's when she deleted the texts.
Hmm.
So I decided to send myself a picture just to see if this is legit, because WhatsApp doesn't care if you delete chats. If this person is your frequently contacted, they will appear on the list.
Okay.
It doesn't care. So I go send a picture, and the top 3 names were her mom, and then there's that number,
Hmm.
and then there's some other friend.
You weren't even in the top 3, fam.
I wasn't even in the top 3. It was
Wow.
her mom, then that number,
Yeah.
and then another person.
Yeah. Yeah.
So no, actually, the person was on number 1. It was the first contact, and then her
Damn.
mom, and then the other person.
Wow.
And again, I'm high on gin. Paranoia kicks in. So what happened is I deleted her WhatsApp. I put it back, and she had been saving her chats on Google Drive. I just say update on Google Drive.
Oh,
And
so it restored the backup.
all those chats came back from
Damn.
like 6 months back.
Yeah, you're good. You're good. You're good.
And she has been talking to this guy ever. Like the only chats I could get were the ones from that month, like 6 months back. But it shows that they had been having conversations since way before.
Jeez.
And dude, if I tell you the stuff that I saw on there,
Yeah.
I mean, these people were legit in a relationship.
Damn.
Sending each other nudes, planning meetings, planning, and I mean, I just put the phone down and I left. That's what I did. I put the phone down and left.
Damn.
And when she woke up, because I didn't even like lock the phone or anything. I just put the phone down and left. So when she woke up and she couldn't see me anyway, and she picks up the phone and she sees all these texts that I deleted a day. And it's the first thing that she sees when she unlocks her phone.
Shit. So she knew.
She obviously knew. So she starts calling me. And she's like, yo, he was blackmailing me. You know, he was promising me things, you know, and all that. And I did not even respond to them. I think I responded the next day. And I was like, yo, you took me for a clown. And all this while I've been having all these things pop up, but this is it for me. Like, I can't deal with this. That was when we broke up. Now, there was no closure, no nothing. That was it.
Oh my goodness. You know, that's all the reason that you needed. You know, that was the closure. And I guess just as I'm wrapping this up, I don't know. This is why I'm always saying exes should not be entertained. You can't be friends with your exes because that's how you end up in situations like this. So just to wrap this up, the lessons that we got from Zola earlier on was that never ignore red flags. If baggage comes, that's lesson number 1. Lesson number 2, if baggage comes, it's okay to say it's too much and stop at that point, because he could have stopped at the very first conversation that my ex is meant to buy me that car. And then last but not least, trust your instinct, trust God, because sometimes it's all you need just to get yourself out of a hot soup. You've been listening to another episode of The Feeling Station. I'm your host, Tinto, and I look forward to catching you next week. Peace.
Ow. Tell me what you're feeling.
Satis on Daro Raini and Chagis.
Tell me what you're feeling now that it's over.
Satis on Daro Raini and Chagis.
Let me talk about my feelings. Let me talk about my feelings, yeah.
Urudoi motor no to kujiziro amai.
Kujiziro amai. Love is a fire.
Urudoi motor no to kujiziro amai.